I'm Sandi McKenna. Some of you might know me from Midlife Road Trip with Rick Griffin. We share our tales of food, travel, and adventure around the world, and we've been doing that now for about 7 years. But so many people have been asking me different questions about my personal life, and any of you who know me even slightly know that it's been kind of a bumpy road for the last 5 years. Not to say it's all been, crap. There's been so many wonderful things that have happened, but some really, really dramatic things. So why today? Why, Sandi, do you today decide, you're going to start telling people, you're telling people your business? I think it's just so many people go through so many horrible things, and you can still have a good life, but it's about being who you are and telling your truth. And so today, this this is a biggie. I turned 60 years old, and I wasn't going to really tell anybody, just keep it kind of to myself. But you know what, I've lived 60 years, and most of them have been incredibly amazing, wonderful years, and I have lots of memories and lots of fantastic stories to tell. And I got this beautiful, oh, hold on, sorry about that, it was my husband. Anyway, he's on his way home from work. He has a real job. Anyway, so like I said, it's my birthday, and I wasn't going to tell anybody just because, it's not easy getting old. I mean, it just isn't. Especially when you have friends like Lucille, who, these are the kinds of calls I get. And yeah, she's right. That's me. I love to eat. Absolutely love to eat. And so anyway, I'm going to embrace it. And that's what this whole new Seriously, Sandi, a series is about. And it's about sharing the good times and the bad times, and how I love to eat, but I also struggle. How I've had some really hard times, and what I've done, to get around them and to hopefully keep my life together. And hopefully some of these things people will be able to relate to, just like I, watch other people and kind of relate to them. Bad hair day happens a lot when you get older, because you don't have hair like you used to. I mean, and I'll even share some of the stuff that I buy. I have a habit of, like I'll be even HSN or QVC, or I'll see something online and I'm buying creams and machines. I mean, they see me coming when I walk into Ulta or Sephora. And I mean, I can't tell you how much money on this stuff. I have a box of it. I'm going to start to share. I've got stuff, these machines that scrub your face. I've got these rollers. I've got, I don't know, something that goes under your eye and it vibrates, and yeah. So I've got tons of stuff. So I'll share that. And I'm going to start using some of this stuff and see. I even bought this facial thing that it's got some kind of current. Yeah, so maybe if I put myself to the test and I share it with other people, that eventually I'll start to use some of the stuff I have. And then the other thing is well, let me start. God, it's so hard for me to talk about some of this stuff. I mean, it's just, and you avoid it for so long. Let me start by several years ago. I think it's been 5 years ago now. My dad got very sick. I happened to be in Italy on a wonderful trip with this group, Savory Adventures, and my friend April, and it was magnificent. It was beautiful. But while I was gone, my father got very sick, and he went into a coma. And when I came back, he was like in a coma for months, and they didn't think he may never have come out of it, but he did. And he went into a rehab. And so once he was in the rehab, he declined rather quickly. And there was a certain amount of neglect that happened. And we called an ambulance and we got him out of the hospital, got him into the emergency room in the hospital. And he was there for, oh gosh, I don't know how long it was. But anyway, we decided after that we would bring him home. I digress. He came out of the coma. He was, yeah, he came out of the coma. But he had all kinds of, stuff now. He had a catheter, and he had a, what do you call it? A trach. He had all kinds of stuff in him. He was like the $1 million man. Never lost his sense of humor. Was hilarious through the whole thing. Once he came, we went to lunch the day he came out of the coma. We had been there day and night for I can't tell you how many months. My mom, my daughter, my grandkids, my husband, everybody. We took turns. We were there all the time. And so we decided to go to lunch one afternoon. We all go, and because we figured, what's the difference? He's still, he's still out. We come back. He's sitting up. He's like, where the hell have you been? We're like, what? It was like nothing happened, and he was sharp as a tack. So anyway, we brought him home. Not long. Then he had to go to the rehab. That's when he almost died again. Then we brought him home, and so we said we can't kill him any quicker than they can. And he had tons of stuff wrong with him. He had gone through bouts with MRSA and C. diff, and if you know anything about them, they are disgusting and gross. But we survived it all, and he lived with us at home. My mom moved in, and my dad, because she was like an old-fashioned mom. She didn't, she was always home with the kids. She never had a job once we were born outside the house. She used to work for a newspaper prior to that, Long Island Newsday. But once my brother and I came along, she stayed with us, and so she never worked outside the home as an adult, and she didn't never learn to drive. I mean, well, living in New York, a lot of people didn't learn to drive, but I'm like, learn to drive, Ma. And I always told her I would teach her, but she was very shy. She was the most amazing mom in the world. But we're talking about my dad, so I'm going to get back to that. So anyway, she moved in. My daughter had just gone through a divorce, and so she came and lived with my husband and I. And so we all lived together in our house, and we all looked after my dad. And my daughter, Crystal, was fantastic. My dad's pulmonologist used to say, come work for me, go back to school. You're amazing at this. She did all kinds of medical stuff for him, and they trained her to do it, and she was incredible. I would always take the night shift. My dad had a horn in case he couldn't talk. He had this little horn bell thing that I still save to this day, that we had. So anyway, he lived with us for 18 months along with my mom and my daughter, and my two grandkids, my two granddaughters. And he eventually succumbed to his disease right before Christmas 5 years ago. And but we had a tree for him, and he got to experience all the things. And but we learned so much, and we actually, Parade Magazine had done a story about my family at that time, and how we all lived under one roof and came together, 3 generations to take care of my dad. And it was, what memories, you look back at that and you think, oh, the struggles, and it was, but now it is so amazing that we had that opportunity. Fast forward a bit, and my daughter, it was October 15th, was it? No, October 15th, November 15th. It was November 15th. November 15th of 2014, a year and a half ago. My daughter was killed in a car accident, and it was one of those things when you go to the door and you see 2 uniform officers, and they come in, and you just know. And it was, and they couldn't get a hold of us, and I don't know why. I mean, it was, I don't know why they couldn't, they didn't, and then I don't know how they found, and it's one of those things, you go into such a shock, I don't even recall a whole lot of what happened. I remember just crying, and I remember having to tell my mother and her daughters, and my husband it was on a weekend, so my husband happened to be home, and it was just horrible. And it came on the heels of my mom's sister had died recently, and and my dad had just died a couple years prior to that, and it was devastating to my mother, who had, now she lost her sister, her husband, and now my daughter, who they were extremely close. And so it was, I just, it was like, I don't even know how to explain it. And it is something that you move on from, because you can't let it just overcome you. But you never, ever, I don't think, get over it ever. I mean, there are certain days that's, something like those damn Facebook memories, and they're wonderful. But, if you haven't had your coffee or you're having a bad morning, I mean, they can be incredibly depressing. So, we did it just crazy. And, that we had that. And then 9 months ago, and 9 months after my daughter died, my mom died from heart failure. And she had progressively gotten sick after my daughter died. So anyway, I know it just sounds like everything's horrible and terrible, but it's not. This is just why I want to share this with you. So anyway, my mom died, and then it was like, now what? Now what do we do? I mean, our whole lives had changed. Half of our family was gone in what seemed like an instant. And so now we had a family of Zoe, my oldest granddaughter is 18, Zoe, and she is in college. And then Maddie just turned 14, and she's going into high school. And she had some really hard times, especially when her mom died. It was so unexpected. But I'm going to go into more details throughout this series of stuff, and you feel free to ask me questions. And I will be as honest as I can be about anything. So anyway, it was just my husband and I and Maddie. And just this past week, we legally adopted Maddie. So my husband and I, at 60 years old, I'm a parent again, and which is so incredible, and I would not trade for anything. She is an incredible kid. She's, as a matter of fact, today she went to her school. Her principal had invited her, and there was an assembly of all the teachers getting ready for back to school. And so they invited her to come and speak of how the teachers and had impacted her life, which they did, because she had some very dark moments. And I mean, there was a time when she didn't think she could go to school. She couldn't go to school. And believe you me, I didn't want to get out of bed either. So I can't imagine what it was like for a kid. But we did. And I think because we had each other, and we had to support each other and be there for each other, that's really what got us through all of these terrible dark times. There have been some incredible times in between, some great trips, some hilarious, moments, some not so great trips. Wait until I get to tell you those stories about my husband. Oh, he's the worst traveler. But it always leaves us for a lot of laughs. The kids, they are great travelers. I would take those two girls anywhere, because they're just amazing and wonderful kids. My husband, not so much. He'll stay behind because he doesn't like it. So when you travel with somebody who doesn't like to do something, it's tough. Oh, and I didn't mention my niece, or my husband's sister's daughter. She moved in with us. And she graduated from college in May, and so she came and she's living with us, and she'll be here, I think, for about a year or so. So we had, and thank God too, because she's really smart. She has a degree in biology, and she's very good at math. So we're very happy to have her here, with having somebody having a freshman in high school. Numbers to me are like wah wah wah. I hate them, and so anyway, she's a good tutor. So we're lucky to have her here too. So that's in a nutshell how things are. My job is writing and shooting video and blogging and all of that. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother life.